What's up? What's going on, everyone? What is up? We got another couple minutes, but I wanted to jump on here, make sure everything's okay with you guys, make sure the music's okay, make sure my mic's okay, make sure you guys are getting fed legit video and audio. So, this, well, it's been a while. I haven't done this in so long, but you guys all know how these have to get started. You guys know what we do here. I know it's been a few months, but this show was originally on for a couple years, and that means we've got to do the clap. So, what's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda here. This is Rewind Live. This is the first time I'm ever doing Rewind Live, and that's mainly because I need to put out content faster, that's more relevant, that's of the moment, and I go live a lot, so why not just mix the news I used to do with the live I always do and bring it to you right here on YouTube, which is kind of the platform I should probably focus on growing the most. But just so you know, we're gonna do a little bit of like an after party on my Twitch channel, where we can just hang out, do a really casual conversation with you guys, should you wanna do that. And I will give you guys the link. It's the same thing as here, twitch.tv/lastxwitness. So I'll type that in the chat right now, right before we get into the news. And you guys can join us there. And if you're not familiar with Twitch, it's a dope platform. It's chill. And we have a great community there. Half my community is in here right now. Records of Light, David Cooper, Psycho. What's going on? DC Allen, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? Lisa, David Lou, how are you? How are you? How are you? Okay, so Rewind's been on hiatus for quite a while. It was never really taken off. It was kind of like my decision to just not go forward with it. At the time, social things were going crazy, platforms being attacked. It wasn't a time for photo news. So I took a break from it. As I took a break from it, more responsibilities came into my lap. The hole in the schedule was filled slowly. It's just how things go. And after a while, it was just kind of like, do I even still want to do this or not? And you guys have seen me live on multiple platforms over and over again, videos coming out nonstop, my own career, my studio here in New York, all these kind of things. So thank you guys so much for bearing with me on this. You know, I just realized I don't have up my watermark. Where did that go? There it is. Hey, buddy, how are you? All right, what's up? Alan Johnson, how you doing? I'm just gonna grab a sip of this really quick and we're gonna get into this. Oh, it's so good. So good. All right. So for those of you who are not familiar, this is Rewind, the photo and somewhat video industry news. I pretty much sift through stuff that I find is pertinent that you should know about, and I kind of break it down for you a little bit. I'm not gonna go into everything. One thing I don't like to cover is rumors. I know you guys live for that kind of stuff. I also know that a lot of other channels fiend for those views and clickbaits with that. I'm not that guy. And the reason I don't go for rumors is they're poison to this industry. They're fun, but they're also a matter of hype that gives expectations here when the technology that you're about to receive was created 2 years ago and it's about here. It's not exactly the greatest thing in the world to push companies to be in this like non-attainable standard at the moment. And I also think that it causes tribalism, and I also think that it causes a lot of friction out there in what used to be a community, which is now just a bunch of people buying stuff and yelling at each other over they made the right choice of what they bought. So I'm not down with rumors. And being behind the scenes a lot, I can tell you that at least 75% of the time, the rumors are just completely way off or wrong, and they're just trying to get clicks. So they never have to be right. They're just saying they're rumors. So therefore, they kind of just say it, and you clicked on it. They got what they wanted from you. They give you something you might want to hear about, sort of, kind of, maybe. They don't really stick to it as a fact, and we all move on. So I'm not really part of that. Hey, Mike James, Brad, how are you? Records of Light, what's going on? I think I already said what's up to Records of Light. Oh, actually, you know what I forgot to do? The shout out of the week. I forgot to set that up. 1 second, guys. I kind of should have planned this out a little bit, actually. Let me see. So, I'm gonna do 3 shout outs of the week at the end of this, because we used to do that at the end of Rewind when that wasn't a live show, and I thoroughly enjoyed that, actually. Let's see if I can find. And one more. We're going to do one more for you guys. I think the shout outs of the week really helped some people out there personally. I always got a DM the next day going like, hey, I just got an influx of followers. Thanks so much for the shout. And hopefully the same thing happens here. I know that this isn't as huge of a channel as the Adorama's channel that I'm on as well, but you know, anything's anything, right? Maybe I only do one because I can't find let me see if I can find the other one. Okay, we'll do this one. Okay, now plan stuff out. I know, new approach. I know, I just kind of go for it. I actually got into a weird discussion in our Discord and it kind of frazzled me a bit, so I'm a little bit off. But we're gonna get into this. There's a few things that happened that are a little old, but I wanted to talk about them because I think they're really important actually, and I think that they dictate a few things that are actually happening on things that are actually happening that'll lay the groundwork for a lot of things to come. And I think it's really important that we look at the way brands are thinking, not just what they're doing. So yeah, they released this camera, great, but what about what they're thinking about doing going forward? What are you investing into? Where's the technology going and how is it competing with one another? Right now we're seeing the biggest competition between cell phones and cameras, right? But we're also seeing a more influx of people than we've ever seen before, making content and shooting more than we've ever seen before. Now everyone literally has a camera on them all the time. That wasn't always the case. Now we live in an era like that. Now we live in a time where it's like a part of society. It's almost like the lifestyle of being human now, which is kind of interesting. All right, if you guys are ready to get into the news, I want to see a bunch of readies typed out in the chat, and I'm going to get blazing through a few of these. I have a bunch of tabs open, but mainly have them open because there's multiple articles of the same topic, and this is key. What I want you to realize is in this industry, there's no actual news source. They're blogs. They're there to try to get you to click on stuff. They'll put titles that are ridiculous. They'll put things in there that are just regurgitated from another blog. They're just in the business of putting things out fast and consistently all day, as long as they can, as many times as they can. They try to get you to click on it, which is fine. But you have to be educated and look through all that stuff and go, okay, I know what they're trying to do here. They're actually just saying this when it's actually that, or it's like out of the entire article, it's just one little excerpt. So hopefully I can help you guys negotiate that. So wanted to radio on Twitch with lots of viewers. Yeah, well, maybe after this. We'll go over to Twitch after this, okay, guys? All right, let me, actually, what is going on here? Why does this say, okay. First thing I want to talk about was curved sensors. Yeah, this is really, really interesting. One of the things that's really interesting about this is that it's actually nothing new. So what you're seeing here is actually, let me move myself to this side. I'm gonna move this to this side. That way I'm not blocking all the articles. You like that, huh? So this is Canon patenting lens design for curved sensors. And what's crazy about this is that curved sensors aren't even a new idea. Forever ago, Nikon, this was 2017, was putting in patents for a curved full frame sensor. And Canon also had curved sensor patents out there years ago as well. So the top two brands, or brands in the top three, I should say now, because Nikon got knocked down to three, they've been thinking about curved sensors for a while. So what is the advantage of a curved sensor? It's kind of obvious and kind of, is it worth it? Check this out. So with a curved sensor, we're not talking about like, so there's a flat sensor, and if we curve it, we're not talking about doing this. We're talking about just doing a little bit of the edges. And what that does is allows the light to travel the same distance through the lens to the entire sensor, rather than them having to engineer a piece of glass in a lens, more elements, bigger glass, heavier glass, and also lower light transmission because of more elements in the lens in order for it to hit a sensor equally at all distance, which means that the corners will be at the same distance of the light ray as the center. It's the same idea as a curved monitor, right? A curved monitor says that if I'm turning my head here, technically it's the same distance to my face than if I'm looking right in the middle of the monitor. The variable there is you move around all the time and it doesn't always work out unless you stay in the same place. the lens is fixed. The distance of the sensor to the lens is whatever they make it to be. So this could actually work. What I think the problem here is one, it would require a whole new set of lenses to be built because a regular lens couldn't go on a curved sensor. It would be out of focus on the corners, and a curved sensor lens probably can't go on a flat sensor because that as well will cause edge issues. So it's kind of interesting. What I think you're going to see here though is maybe not a mirrorless interchangeable lens line, but maybe you'll see it integrated into fixed lenses like smaller vlog cameras, you know, cameras that they're trying to battle phones with. They want to make them smaller, cheaper, less weight. And this allows them to do that. Smaller lens elements, stuff like that. You know, so keep that in mind that curved sensors are a whole nother system. You know, it's not just like, you know, crop sensor or 1-inch sensor versus full frame. It's a whole new system for light transmission to be caught on a sensor. And I think they're thinking in a really interesting way. And Canon, by the way, is famous for over patenting to death, meaning that they come up with some kind of technology and they just cover themselves by patenting it in case they want to use it. They have that card in their deck. Case in point, remember this? The active cooling inside the cameras. They want to put vents inside the lens mounts, or vents inside the edge, inside the lens towards the outer edge of the lens to bring airflow into the camera to cause more cooling, because now we're dealing with higher processing, more data, more voltage, a lot more heat inside these cameras than before. They were thinking of all this type of stuff. I think they even did it with, a speed light. They thought about cooling down a speed light with active cooling, meaning fans, meaning vents, meaning actual exhaust happening here. That's kind of bananas if you think about it. What do you guys think about all this off the bat? I've never done Rewind Live, so it's actually kind of interesting to see what you guys have to say about this. These are lenses for curved sensor. Yeah, so it's just a patent. You have to remember that a patent doesn't mean they're making it. It just means they're protecting themselves to be the ones that can make it, or protect their design rather. However, Nikon has patents for curved sensors. Canon has patents for curved sensors. Who knows what Sony has? And these are big companies that have a fleet of lawyers that they go, here, take care of this patent. And they go, yeah, we'll go do that. So it's kind of interesting. Something like micro lensing. I guess also specializing imaging equipment. Yeah, so that's the other thing. It could lead to things that are smaller build technology, like maybe something medical, something like an exploratory scope that can get inside people's arteries to look around or something. Who knows what they're going to do with this kind of technology? It almost seems not that crazy of an idea that it should have already existed, right? A curved sensor. We've seen curved TVs and curved monitors and things like that for a long time now. Why haven't we seen this before? Well, the reality is they can't just make cameras the way they want to make them. They have to make the cameras optimal to be sold. So if they told you, hey, you know that Canon R5 you just bought? Forget it. We're going to redo this whole thing with a curved sensor and you're going to have to buy all new lenses. Not going to happen, right? So that's kind of a thing. So this is going from film to digital type of thing. No, I don't think we're going to see this until like the next generation of technology. Here's where I think you might see this, and call me crazy, but it makes sense, and you know it makes sense. Global electronic shutters. They can start a whole nother camera line, not even needing a mechanical shutter, giving you a curved sensor, having a global shutter that could change the game for flash sync, frames per second, less moving parts, less little parts in there at all to cause shutter issues, which we're going to get into later, right? You guys know what we're going to get into. The thing about all of this is that they're just looking for progression to jump to the next. If we get a global shutter, Canon, the sensor that's in the red Komodo is a Canon sensor. It's not full frame, but it's a Canon sensor and it's a global shutter. For those of you who don't know what a global shutter means, that means if the sensor is on, the entire sensor captures light and shuts off. That's your sensor, that's your shutter. Right now what we have is a sensor of a rolling electronic shutter. So it's actually activating and deactivating pixels along the sensor, or actually I think it goes this way, to be honest with you. And what that does is cause issues with movement, can muddle up pixels because they're trying to do anti-distortion, which causes pixels to not look as clear actually. A lot of different things. We really are trying to go towards a global shutter for the next iteration of digital. Just like we went from film to digital, now we're going from DSLR to mirrorless, and now I think we're going to be looking at going from mirrorless to a non-moving part camera. Honestly, I think at least in the sensor shutter area, not as far as lens movements go. Patent release are good things because it shows companies think of nerd things versus same old tech. Exactly. And I think it's really important to look at the patents, because not only do you get an idea of what might be coming, even if it doesn't, but you get an idea of how that company thinks, and you vote with your dollars where you want the industry to go. So this shows you what the philosophy of the camera company you might be heavily invested in, where they think, how they think, maybe what their long run might be. All right. This possible curved global shutter, would this allow for more shutter actuations, longer camera life, you think? So here's the issue with electronic shutters. You have no idea how much wear and tear is on those cameras. With a mechanical shutter, you know how many times it was tripped. With an electronic shutter, you could try to count it, but in reality, what you don't know is how long has that sensor been running. When you're just holding a mirrorless camera in your hands, it's running the sensor, guys. That's putting hours and mileage on those sensors. Dead pixels, things like that. Also, pixel remapping could need to take place. All sorts of things come with a sensor being on, right? There's silicon degradation. Silicon is what we make chips out of, and it does degrade over time from things like heat. So we don't know what our actual usage of these sensors are right now. When you look at a mirrorless camera, if you went to go buy a used mirrorless camera, there's no running clock that says how long it's been on, how many hours it's been running, at least not by my knowledge. It could change that. You also don't know how many times the sensor has been on and off, which is another wear and tear. That's like starting up an engine, right? How many times did you push voltage through it? And if we're doing global shutter, that's some good wear and tear too. You know, so think about all this stuff. And how many times did you shoot mechanical versus electronic? And how many times did you shoot hybrid? Mechanical to trip flash, electronic to finish off the shot. There's so many different aspects to this. What we are looking at, though, is an era of photography that has better built stuff than we've ever seen before. I mean, better sealant, better substrates for plastics, rubbers, glass, you know, even metals. I mean, the magnesium alloy bodies are fantastic. The batteries are even better. You know, lithium ion, now we're seeing lithium polymer that doesn't have any issues with exploding or things like that. So a lot of craziness going on here. It'll be interesting to see how fast shutter speed can get with global shutter. You know, I'm really interested to see that as well. I think what we might get as global shutter might be an infancy type thing. Like it might not be able to do 8,000th of a second. I don't know. I can't speak to it because I don't know. By the way, can someone tell me if Super Chat is enabled? Because it asked me, I kind of enabled it. I don't know if I did. Somebody tell me if it's there or not. If you see if you see a dollar sign down there somewhere. It seems like a safe bet. A solid state sensor be more reliable at the same cost as mechanical one. One of the things I think we're going to run into, though, Rising, as an issue with curved sensors is stabilization. How do you mitigate a moving sensor that also isn't flat anymore? If it's pitching and, you know, yaw and pitch and XY axis and all that type of stuff, how do you compensate for that with IBIS? Do we sacrifice stabilization to have smaller lenses out there or something like that? But what I think is, what it really is, okay, it's active, cool. What I think is really going to happen here is you're going to see this put into fixed lens bodies. Like, you know, this is one of my favorite cameras of all time. This is the Fuji X100V, right? One of my favorite cameras ever. This is a fixed lens. It is on that body. I can add attachments to it, but it doesn't, you can't take that lens off, right? So I think that we're in a case where you don't have to worry about a lens system, but you can make a camera system tighter and smaller. You might see it here. Like imagine a pancake lens that's even smaller than that, or a lens that acts better, more optimal than a pancake lens that allows more light to enter it and things like that. That's even smaller. You know, I mean, think about that. A lot of crazy things can happen here if they choose to push this technology. I wish they thought about this technology once they got into full frame mirrorless. Canon, Nikon, they had a chance to start doing curved sensors and change the market that way and leave Sony with the smaller mount and a flat sensor, but maybe it wasn't there, you know? Vega, thanks so much. Vanessa, thank you so much. Does everyone get what I'm saying here as far as that goes? Because I feel like if the curved sensor became a thing, you might actually see it in cell phones. You might actually see it where, you know how lenses right now, do I have a phone around here? Oh, you know how lenses right now are kind of protruding out of the body of your phone? Well, maybe they go flat. Maybe they won't need as many lenses to pull off similar focal length. You know, I think you're gonna see curved sensors do something. I could be wrong, but it seems like a really great technology out there. You know, I know that CPUs will last for decades of daily operations as long as they're cooled adequately. Even their overclock sensors, I would assume, would work the same way as well. Well, Tank, what you're forgetting is we're already seeing overheating happen, right? 8K sensors out there are subject. We're almost not asking will they not will they overheat, but when will they overheat? That's what we're dealing with right now. So yeah, we're pushing a ton of voltage, a ton of data through these cameras to a point where they can't function. That's kind of crazy. And we're okay with it. We're just kind of like, well, how long is the clock on this one? Right? We're crazy. Tank, thank you so much. Yeah, I think it'll be effective in cell phones too, Brad. Curved sensors are a really cool idea, I think. And I almost am wondering why we didn't see them sooner, but I got to give it to Canon. They're always thinking, I mean, look at this. Vents inside the camera body, which I don't know how you could weather seal that. Same thing with the lenses here. But Canon, if they put out a whole lens lineup for curved sensors, that's kind of bananas. Of course, I wonder if Nikon will ever use this patent that they ever got into for a lens for curved sensors. I think they actually do have a patent for curved sensors, I think, or the integration of a curved sensor in a certain body type, I think. I could be wrong there. But it shows they were thinking about this. Look, 2017, they were thinking about this kind of stuff. Kind of crazy. I was just super excited about this, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it because I haven't done Rewind. Rising, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. What would 8K look like on a smartphone? Well, you're about to find out because 8K is coming to smartphones. We're seeing Android phones claiming 8K right now. But that doesn't mean they have all the dynamic range. That doesn't mean that they're good in low light. It doesn't mean a lot of things. It doesn't mean that they have color depth. Remember, resolution's only one little part of the equation. If it doesn't have deeper color depth and shallow dynamic range, what are you really getting out of this thing but a contrasty blitzed mess that happens to have a bunch of resolution? So what are you really getting out of that, right? I think, you know, we ask a lot of our gear right now. We ask a lot of what we're able to do. And if you think about what we pulled off in the last 2 to 4 years with equipment, we are now doing, like, I'm broadcasting to technically the world with a camera that can fit in my palm and can also give me stills that I can shoot for a commercial job. Think about that. It's like having a cameraman. I can literally have this thing just follow my face. Look, boom, there's my face. You know what I mean? Like, there's my hand, there's my face, and I have it set to kind of slow because I don't like fast, jarring autofocus. So it'll constantly find everything I needed to find, right? It's like we get all this technology to do whatever we need to do, and we can't get enough. No, I want 8 billion K. I need 64 7.5 bit color. No. My sensor has to be 1 millimeter bigger than your sensor. It's never enough. It'll never be enough. What's funny is we need the platforms to catch up. Twitch cannot stream in 4K, but yet we are wanting 8K cameras. Again, there's reasons for 8K. Things like being able to crop into the video, shoot a 2-person interview with one camera where if I shoot you at 8K like this and I punch into each person separately and I put it out as a 4K video, I now have half the equipment cost for the same job. I'm carrying half the gear. Vanessa can talk about this too. Vanessa has lenses that subsequent all of these other lenses she has. She has that 28 to 70 f2 lens, which takes a 35 out of her bag, which takes 3 or 4 lenses out of her bag. She just has a massive lens, but she has it and she loves it. And it gives her the ability, right? Mike James, thank you so much. David Liu, thank you so much. I think I used the word subsequently wrong, so someone can yell at me in the comments later. No, I know someone's listening to me on this. I know someone's listening to me. All right. Are we good with curved sensors? Do we have anything else you want to talk about? Cost, I mean, they're going to cost, lenses will cost less to make, give us more light through the lens because there's less glass for the light to go through. Lighter, smaller, less moving parts. It doesn't get any better than that. I just wonder if the stabilization inside of a camera body can handle a curved sensor. I don't think it's about the platform at all. It's the infrastructure, the internet speeds. Yeah, that's true, Tank. We definitely aren't where we think we are in the internet age, really. It's not the internet age, but you know what I mean. There's plenty of people in America that don't have the ability to download a video game to their console, right? We have plenty of people around the world that don't have access to internet or decent internet, you know, so we're kind of moving fast, but we're moving fast because they need you to buy. The camera industry has seen lower sales than ever before. Wow, my legs just fell asleep. That's record time right there. It's seeing lower sales than ever before. So if you think about it, they're really going what would sell and also prove that we're doing the technology correctly and uphold a legacy brand, right? Oh, talking of which, I'm buying an RF 24 to 200 2.8 tomorrow. Congratulations, that's a beast lens. The RF lenses are phenomenal. I got to give it to Canon. They did a great job glass-wise. I think they've been putting out really, really great glass, and now they're putting out the affordable glass. I think Nikon Z series has had incredible glass. I've been shooting with nothing but kit lenses with them, so I think it's been doing great. Okay, everybody good on curved lenses? We're moving on. I know I'm on a crazy delay, so... Bye, Vanessa. Thanks for stopping by. And you guys can go follow Vanessa if you're not already. You're kind of crazy. Oh, man. All right, moving on. Canon also patented a touchpad on the side of a lens. What does this mean? This means that they're trying to take away a focus ring. They're trying to take away a moving mechanical part. They're trying to use technology that's readily available to make the lenses that much easier to probably build, maintain, last for a longer time. But the problem is we're photographers and we're tactile and most of us want that dial. It's probably even better weather sealing this way. However, they tried this with the touch bar on the R, and that was polarized. You either absolutely loved the touch bar or you absolutely hated it. The first time I tried it, I was like, this makes no sense to me. It doesn't feel right to me, but I'm an older photographer. What you have to remember is younger photographers that come from a cell phone come from an apparatus that had no tangible dials, no tangible clicks, no buttons. They just touched the screen and dragged their finger up and down to change something. They might be getting this patent in place to be able to sell to that generation of photographers that come out of the smartphones. The touch bar on the Canon, here's what I'm gonna say with the touch bar. The touch bar that was on the, I'll use this Fuji for reference. The touch bar that was over here on the Canon, when I first grabbed that thing, and I mean, I had a beta model prototype in my hand when we did it for Adorama. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't like dragging my finger or pushing something that doesn't push in. So I was like, okay, something's not hitting here. Then someone showed me how you can adjust the sensitivity to it, and I kind of got it. But going from every other camera I used and picking that thing up, I lost the intuition on it again, over and over again. I kept having to retrain my brain when I picked up the R to get into it. But the people that love the touch bar, I totally understand where they're coming from. This, I don't know if this is gonna fly. I get the idea of not having a ring, but it's still a focusing mechanism, which means there's still moving parts in it. So what I wanna know is, what is the lag from moving your finger on this touchpad to focusing? I wanna know how instantaneous it is, and I wanna know not only how instantaneous it is, but when I move my finger, does it stop exactly where I stop? Because if you're doing manual focus with a shallow depth of field. What a beast of a job that is. It's bananas. It's absolutely bananas. And if the touch bar would have been supported spinning the aperture ring, it might have been useful. The touch bar I kind of get for like white balance, you know, or whatever. I don't know. It's just it's not. I don't know. I couldn't get into it, but I get people that did. I get it. Touchpad on the lens? No, please no. What if you're in extreme cold? What if you're a photographer that's out there in the cold as a pro wildlife photographer and it's too cold to register? You have gloves on. It's wet because you're shooting football in the rain. You know, this, if anything, this type of technology might find its way into pro amateur, right? Like people that aren't going to go that hard, but it'll show that Canon has like a futuristic feel, progressive feel to the technology. I don't know. But it shows what Canon is thinking about. It shows what they're doing. Had you have seen a patent for the touch bar from the R a while back, what would you have said about it? What would you have gone, oh no, not that? And do you think Canon would have been like, oh wait, all the comments are trashing it, we shouldn't put it on the R? No, they probably do it anyway, honestly. I know a lot of times on anything touch, it reads my finger pulling off the touch surface and moves with it. That's true, but they might have some sort of threshold that's built into it, you know, firmware-wise or something, you know. That's an issue for sure. I use a Wacom tablet for example, and sometimes the pointer position will shift slightly when I lift the pen. Yeah, that definitely happens. Hard to do touchpad on a lens when you can't feel your fingers. That's true. Like photogs like Mike, James, Lisa, myself, Justin, we're working in extreme cold yearly. -40 typically in the winter. Oof. Is it not for picking the focus point and not for a manual focus? It could be for either. It's just a touchpad that replaces a focus ring. So it's not an actual thing that exists yet. All they have is the idea of a touchpad on the side of a lens where your thumb would go. Actually, is it your thumb? Yeah, it's where your thumb would go. Yeah. So, you know, so we'll see. I voted with my wallet, therefore I didn't get into it. That's kind of how you do it, man. You kind of vote with your wallet. Sadly, the people that don't vote with their wallet are the ones that are loud in comments and cause all sorts of issues in this industry, and it's a total shame. It really is. Hopefully, we can start moving forward from that. But interesting nonetheless, Canon always putting out a ton of patents out there, and I think it's really interesting to see where a company that large and with that long of a legacy in the industry thinks about where they might want to go. Pretty interesting. And don't forget, when the Canon R came out, people trashed that camera. It had one card slot. It was the most expensive of the 3 brands. It didn't have stabilization in it. You know, there was a few things about that camera. It had cropped 4K. There was so many things about that camera that people negated on. And now look what people are saying. They can't wait to get their hands on an R5. The R6 is a great camera. Don't count these brands out over one body, over one model. You don't know how much R&D they put into a model that they have to put out there to just at least recoup what they put into it, whether they like it or not. They don't see what like Sony puts out and goes, oh man, we better not put this camera out because it didn't do what they did. No, they put it out anyway. They have to. It's just how it is, you know? Hard to see the manual focus crowd leaning into this. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think what would be really cool about it is if you're holding, let me get a camera really quick. Yeah, this is an old camera. This is a Nikon F6. This is a film camera actually. But I think if you had a touchpad here for your thumb, and I'm looking through here, and instead of what Canon does now, which is use your thumb on the back screen to pick your focus point, if you had that on the lens here, that would be a very interesting integration of a touchpad on the side of a lens where I'm just moving my finger where I want that focus point to go. That would be very interesting. But we'll see, you know? What would also suck is if it makes a whole nother lens line. Well, what if they're doing the curved lens line with a touchpad on the side? What then? Man, I forgot what this camera felt like. Nikon F6, man. Just a quick sidebar. The F6 was pretty interesting because this was the last film camera they got into, and they wanted it to feel like a digital camera. So they had all your information on the back here. So if you're someone like me that was going back and forth between film and digital back then, you had more of an ease of use putting it to your face and using like the intuitive nature of the interface. I thought that was pretty cool of them. This camera was a beast. I love this thing. Still love this thing. What am I talking about? I just don't shoot film nearly as much. iFocus from Canon. What about iFocus from Canon? Jose, thanks so much. Let's all hit like. Thank you so much, Jose. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all your support, guys. I really do. How is Rewind Live for you guys so far? Are you guys into this? All right. In sadder news, for all you Sigma fans, let me just make this bigger. Sigma released this, which is a big... The 28-70 f2.8 DGDN from the contemporary line, the L mount, no matter what mount you have, they're finding that they are faulty, that over time the lens degrades to increase ghosting inside your images. So they themselves are saying, we are not down with this. We are going to stop manufacturing this lens till we fix it. And you might have one. So if you have a serial number before 554-88834, you might be affected by this, whether you're using it on a Sony, Sigma, Leica, or Lumix. Doesn't matter. If you have this lens and your serial numbers for that, hit up Sigma. I'm going to put this link in the description of this video after I'm done. But for the most part, here it is in the chat. So take a look at that. It'll tell you what to do about it. You know, it sucks, but I have to give it to Sigma to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're not letting this piece of garbage out there. We can make this better. We know we can make this better. It shows they believe in their own brand. It shows that they care about the community, the industry, and people who believe in their brand as well. So, and I just want to say, I went to Photokina and I met the CEO of Sigma, and he also came to Adorama. The most chill guy ever. I mean, Sigma has got their head on straight. I will say that. You wish Sigma would release a new Foveon camera. A lot of people are saying that. I think they ran into an issue with just being able to put out sensors like that, to be honest with you. And I think that's why we're seeing, you know, the FP the way it is and stuff like that. Is Sigma ever going to do anything for the RF mount? It's not up to Sigma. I think that's a big misconception. I think you guys have to realize with the Canon R mount and the Nikon Z mount, what they're trying to do is both Nikon and Canon don't want other people making lenses for their system till they have a lens system out. If you were going to buy a 400mm lens, they want you to buy the Nikon version, not the Sigma version. At least let it get out into the marketplace first. So I think once we see the lens line solidify to a point, probably towards the the second half of this year, you'll start seeing Sigma being able to get not just the mount, but the protocol. And that's another thing I think people don't realize about third-party lenses. It's not just a physical mount. There's a protocol that the lens talks to the camera, and they give that to these third-party manufacturers to build. What Sony did, which really helped them out, was in the early days of the mirrorless system, they couldn't get lenses out. They couldn't build the lens line fast enough. In fact, most of Sony's lenses at one point were actually Minolta lenses. They just remounted the back of them. Not a bad thing, but what they said was, we don't care what lens you guys use on our bodies, just buy our bodies. That's what Sony said. And it was kind of like, whoa, like a new way of selling out there, and it's kind of interesting. And it did, it worked. It got the Sony bodies into people's hands. The difference is at that time, Sony was only around for like 5 years in the full frame mirrorless space, or the stills camera space, I should say, as a real, you know, lineup after they bought Minolta. Here we have legacy 100-year-old companies, Canon and Nikon, that want to get their lens line out first before they give away their protocol. And that's why you're not seeing Sigma lenses or Tamron lenses for that matter with that. What you will find is manual focus lenses with a Z mount or an R mount because there's no protocol. All they have to do is look at a lens and go, oh, we can copy that. And they physically copy the mount, but if it doesn't have to talk to the camera, they don't need the protocol. That's what you guys have to realize about the way things work. Is Canon bringing back their tech for tracking the photographer's eye inside? I don't know if they are. I don't think they are. I think you're asking the camera to, first of all, I was never a fan of that because a lot of the times I'm looking at a different area of the photo while I'm locking focus on something else, to be honest with you. It's a weird thing I do. I shoot with two eyes. I have both eyes open, and after I get focus going, I'm kind of looking for where I'm going next. So it kind of screwed me up a little bit, that whole thing. Also, I don't think it was that big of a technology that people wanted. I think a very small part of the market cared about that. And if it doesn't sell another camera for them, what do they care? It's more technology, more things the processor has to worry about when they're already trying to do 30 frames a second on high-res cameras now. The last thing they're going to worry about is, does it see my eyeball? I don't think they're going to do it. I just don't think so. Nikon kind of wants to buy this stuff. Absolutely. I guess that's a change. I guess no luck with Sigma service last time I tried to deal with them. Really? I think Sigma's been really easy. I mean, maybe I have a different interface than you do. Are you in America, Timber Geek? Because I gotta say, I think this Sigma's been very accessible. I think they've been doing things the right way. Yeah, check the corners, right. That's an old saying, Mike, is work your corners, check your corners. That was a photojournalist type thing. I remember I did a job and this older photographer who had like 6 cameras around his neck and they were film, and he was just kind of like, yeah, work your corners. Don't forget, it's not just about the center. It's about keeping it this way. I'm like, man, it was so wild. Wow, you just gave me a flashback there, Mike. So that's that. So if you do, one more time, if you do have a Sigma 28-70 f2.8 from the contemporary line, check your serial number, 554-88834. Anything before that number, you've been affected by this issue. So, you know, they're going to suspend any more of the lenses getting out there if you're looking to buy it, and they're going to try to repair. And I think, what are they? We either repair the lens or replace it. You got to give it to them, taking care of people. Just saying. Just saying. Everybody good in that chat? We good? We good? We good? I wouldn't like eye tracking for sports. Yeah, I mean it's a feature that I think a lot of people with camera features, you just need to be able to shut it off, right? If you don't want it, you turn it off. But if it's in there, it's great if you want it, right? I will say that I don't think I would want to teach anyone photography with that type of, where my eye looks, it automatically focuses for me. I think there's a lot to using your hands and the whole body of the camera personally, but then again, I'm a little old school, so forgive me here. Hey, oh, by the way, guys, are you able to stream this in 4K? Are you guys getting a 4K signal? Let me know. I would love to know how this is working out for you. I haven't streamed from this setup to YouTube in quite a while, so yeah. All right. Whew. Let's get a little heavy now. Speaking of defects, Sony's got a class action lawsuit against them for the A7 III. Yeah, so shutters are actually physically breaking on these cameras. It isn't all of them. I don't know if it was an earlier version or if it was a batch or if they had a third-party part that didn't solidify correctly, if it was a millimeter off. What you guys have to remember about these shutters is they are the most delicate thing on the camera. They are thin blades that are traveling at 1/8,000th of a second sometimes for 20 frames per second, 10 frames per second. I mean, you guys can only get 1080. Man, that's weird. I gotta find a way to... See, it says my current resolution is 4K. That's weird. Oh well. So this is another argument, by the way, that I have for people that are saying, I want my camera to cover the sensor with the shutter when I take my lens off to keep the dust out. Number one, when you take your lens off and your shutter is in front of, oh, you know what? I have to open up. Do I have a mirror lock up on this? I don't remember. Whoop. When you have it up like that and the shutter is just sitting there, if you don't want dust on your sensor, the dust is on the shutter. Then when you close the lens on the body, the shutter opens up again and the dust is in your camera anyway. What's worse is if the dust is on the blades of the shutter and it gets stuck in those blades traveling really fast and it's a hard piece of something, it will derail your shutter blades. So for people that are always like, I really wish, my sensor was protected by the most fragile thing in my camera, by the most precise thing that's in my camera. Are you crazy? Just wanted to say that. So, about this class action lawsuit. Pretty much the Sony a7 III says that it's been rated for 200,000 shutter accuations, which isn't actually that much, believe it or not. It's actually not that crazy, but if that's what the warranty states, I understand it, right? Like they're saying, hey, you have a camera that works for 200,000 shutter accuations, and that doesn't even count electronic shutters. So you might never even use the mechanical shutter sometimes, and you're getting even more out of it, right? What this guy is claiming that they spent around $500 for repairs, $500 to $650 for repairs, from anywhere between 10,000 to 50,000 accuations. They're claiming that they're not getting what they were sold. And honestly, if you got 10,000 shots out of a camera and it blew up, I would lose my mind too, honestly. But this is what I talk about when it comes to dependability on the gear. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes down to legacy of brands. But you also have to understand that this happens to any company in any industry of any size. It doesn't matter. There's so many parts to this. They could have gotten a washer that is a micron off and it causes enough fluctuation of the shutter to freak out and crash into another blade. Things like that happen. It is what it is. This is also not a real pro-heavy camera. They never made this to be like, abuse the hell out of it, get the job done. No, they were like, hey, for 2,000 bucks, you get this awesome, full of features camera, knock yourself out, be an Instagram star. That's kind of where it was going with that. So this sucks. If you do have an a7 III, you might want to take a look at this. It's all over like every blog, really. I mean, DIY photography, everything like that. And this, believe it or not, this actually happened to two people I know that shoot the a7 III. One of them being a wedding guy, and he was screwed for the day. But that's anyone that's shooting. And this could have been any camera. This could have been any camera. You know what I mean? It's just, this is what happens. Mass production of cameras. This is what goes on. We're talking about millions of cameras sold a year. Something's gonna go down. I'm sorry, it's all in the numbers. You know? Right, I thought the best idea we separate shutter sensor cover that was only using the cameras off. So the problem with that, Mike, we actually talked to Hasselblad about this, is the X1D, they wanted to make a mechanism that brought down a curtain that wasn't the shutter to cover the sensor. What they found out in doing that with the challenge was it made the camera that much bigger to include a moving mechanism, and it made a moving mechanism that could eventually fail because it's just sitting there dormant. And who knows what the camera subjected to. With a shutter, it's always active. So the only time you would see this curtain is once in a blue moon when you change the lens. And they were like, not worth it, and the cost of the camera will go up, is what it is. Did I just miss a super chat? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm... Mike Warren, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. I think you guys can ask questions in those super chats if you want me to address them. You know, 10,000 shutter clicks is nothing. People use it for pro work. They should have made properly. It's okay. I'm going to make this clear. It's not like Sony intentionally made something to fail. It's something that Sony made that happened to fail. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair. They're a huge company. They make millions of these cameras. A number of them, if something got out, even after testing, what are they gonna do? Slam down a shutter for 10,000 accuations on every camera and see if anything happened? No, they're gonna put them out there in the wild. The sad part of this is Sony is so enormous that they can absorb this, that they can take this hit. And I just wish they would take care of the people that believed in their brand to buy the a7 III, and they don't have to do a lawsuit. Why isn't Sony doing what Sigma is doing right now? They're like, yo, we made something whack. We got you. Just check it and we'll make sure. Sony's like, nah, chill, homie. You're gonna take us to court? That's where I kind of have a problem with it. But it happens. It absolutely happens. Remember, shutter are supplied by other manufacturers. There are only a few manufacturers that basically every camera manufacturer sources the shutter from a supplier. That's actually true. There's a lot of parts to a camera that are third-party things. In fact, it has a lot of the computer chips in there, the RAM, the processors, the silicon, all that kind of stuff, the sensors. They're all from like similar factories and manufacturers, to be honest with you. Shout out from the Discord community. Jeremiah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. I think people lose track that they're just giving you a finished product and they might have just sourced things to put together the product they wanted to put together. Here's a myth for you. Everyone thinks that all your cameras are Sony sensors. The reality is Sony makes the sensor, the camera brands design them. Fuji goes to Sony and goes, here's what we need you to build. They build it. They don't put a sensor on the market and go, we'll buy that. It's not really how it works. In fact, the D850, if you really read the description of it, Nikon designed a sensor built by Sony. Because Sony, I'm pretty sure now it's 55% of the world's sensors are made by Sony. They're enormous. They're huge. There's only a handful of companies that make their own sensors. Sony, Panasonic, which actually sold off their sensor division to some company, I don't know what the name of them is. Samsung, Nikon actually makes some sensors now. They're niche sensors. They're weird. They just made like 1,000 frames per second little sectioned off sensor. I don't know where that's going, but it's kind of interesting. I mean, your iPhone, it's a 50-50 chance sometimes if it's got a Samsung or a Sony sensor in it. So I get that Nikon got caught on the D750 and D610 failures. Shouldn't Sony be absolved of technical failure and should either own up, recall, or fix the issue? Yeah, it sucks. And it sucks if that's your only camera. Like if you're someone that's finally getting serious and you bought the camera to then move forward in an industry and it kind of failed on you, right? But that's kind of like how it goes. I'm sorry, but every now and then you just get a lemon. Okay? And it sucks. But it's the way the company reacts to what the consumer is dealing with that you judge it by. So if Sigma goes, hey, we made a lens that seems to be degrading, we're going to take care of you, all the credit in the world. If a camera company puts out a camera that failed and they go, it's out of warranty, bro, or whatever their excuse is on this one, kind of sucks. The A7 III was a bombshell. Let me explain this to you. I was in Las Vegas for the launch release of this camera. I mean, the place was filled with VIPs, influencers, waiting for them to take back this curtain to show us what they had. And the A7 III, they're listing all these features like, wow, okay, cool. And when they listed $2,000 as the price for what is in this camera, it changed the whole industry. Nikon had a Z6 to match up with it for $2,000. Canon had to put out the Canon R and drop it down from $2,400 to $2,000. So it changed a lot. It really did set a tone out there, and it's because Sony can do it. They're huge. You have to remember, Sony is also a company, even though it's a separate division, Sony's also a company that made a PlayStation 3 at a loss, cost-wise, just to get it out into the public. They sold it for more than it cost them to make it at one point, just to get it out there, and because they could. That's a big deal. Panasonic was tied to a manufacturer called Tower Jazz. Yeah, Tower Jazz actually did these sensors for Leica, and they did some amazing stuff. There's actually rumors that the D850 was a Tower Jazz sensor, but it turned out not to be true. Now they're just Tower Semiconductor. Makes sense. Isn't that why pros always carry two bodies? I mean, I'll say this, if you're serious and your livelihood depends on this, like mine does, like I do this for a living, and if my camera fails, I can't go to my client and go, well, we're going to cancel this whole day because my one camera went down. It doesn't work that way. You have to pull off the job no matter what. So yeah, you have what we call redundancies, right? So I know you guys see me use 6 speed lights all the time. It's not because I always need 6, But if one goes down for some reason, and even if it's something that's not even the manufacturer's fault, if I put it on a stand and that stand fell for whatever reason and smashed and I'm out of a light, well, now I just go to my bag and I grab the next light. You know, you don't look at the price of one, you look at the system as a whole when you're a pro. You look at what you're really investing into, how much you're putting into it, how much you're getting out of it, how many times you have to rebuy it. And that's why when you go budget on a few things and buy something 6 times as opposed to once or twice, like, you know, really bad grip, right? Terrible stands that are like $7 versus like a $50 stand that'll last you forever. A really good tripod versus one with plastic in it that'll just wear out and fail on you. You buy it like 6 times, it's more garbage out there. This is where you make those decisions. What about the 100 megapixel camera Canon might be doing? So I will not talk about rumors, and that is a 100% rumor, because if you actually, and maybe it's true on some regard, but if you look at the Canon rumor site, they're saying, I know someone that says, and they're a good authority that says, there might be a good chance that there could be maybe a 100 megapixel sensor. Here's my thoughts on that. If it is something, if it is if it is a real thing and it comes to fruition, in my opinion, the 50 megapixel they put out years ago, the 5DSR, was crazy noisy in my opinion, as far as the image quality. I don't understand that camera. There have been other cameras close to 50 megapixels that are a million times cleaner. And I don't think that 100 megapixels on a full frame sensor is conducive. I think what you're going to see is, yeah, I get all this detail. Oh, wait, I get all this crushing noise. At some point, the resolution doesn't mean anything if there's a freaking blast of sand over it. You know, I just don't get it. Don't get it. And at what point do you go, we have enough resolution? The 100 megapixel that is mind-blowing is the GFX. You guys have seen my video shooting myself getting tattooed, hand poke tattooed in Tokyo with a prototype model of it in low light at a 15th of a second stabilized. It was amazing, amazing. I'm actually thinking of going GFX soon. I'm not kidding you. I'm actually thinking about it. Hey, Carl, thanks so much. Flagstaff. Nobody should ever buy a tripod not rated for your weight. You're just begging for something to fail. Pretty much. It's way too big for a mirrorless. What is way too big for a mirrorless? I forgot what I said. What did I? DC Allen. What's too big for a mirrorless? Also concerned NPS layoffs. Okay, so in regards to layoffs in this industry, we're seeing faster shifts and changes than we've ever seen, right? We're seeing cameras that have to do more than they ever had to do before, things that are being cannibalized, video and photo becoming one, you know, audio getting mixed in there, photographers having to learn things like audio and video and things like that. So when older companies that have all these positions that kind of get redundant and they don't need them anymore because the whole industry has changed, there's layoffs. What you have to kind of think about is, if there's 25 people laid off in a company that has like 3,000 people, it's actually a tiny percentage and they're just leaning up. And that sucks. What you do have to worry about is if they have mass layoffs. And one of the reasons you're going to see mass layoffs in a company is if they're having trouble with sales. And one of the main reasons they have trouble in sales is because of clickbait garbage. I'm sorry, but it's true. When a new person comes to photography and they go, I want to buy a mirrorless, best mirrorless, enter, and YouTube comes up and all you see is every YouTube channel bashing a brand for basically views, that new person then takes that brand off the table and they are never going near it, even if it is a good brand, even if they make something that's more suited to them. Doesn't matter. They already take it off the table and they just believe whatever is going to be put in front of them because they just want to make one decision and move on. They're not looking to invest their life into this. So all these YouTubers that are bashing brands are also attributing to layoffs. Just, that's my opinion, but you're seeing sales fail from a perfect circle of bashing leads to not sales leads to hurt resources means to less R&D, less stock, less ability to produce. It's just a cycle, and it sucks. So the layoffs are terrible, and I think I understand why they have to be, but I also think it just it doesn't have to be when the industry is being hurt by the industry. What I mean by that is influential channels on here will hurt brands, which not only hurt the brand and the people working there and people's jobs and careers, but it hurts you. Because if we take another brand off the table, that means less competition, less price competition, less progression in technology, less tit for tat till we get like features that we really want in cameras, or a stability in the industry itself. We suffer from that just as much as those people that are clearing out their desks. And it's sad, you know, and this is all for what? The personal gain of a popular YouTube channel. Just saying. Yeah, the number of Z9 reviews after development announcement was a ridiculous amount of pure speculation. Yeah, the Z9 announcement was literally like 3 things. It does 8K, stacked sensor, and integrated battery grip. That was all we know about it, but somehow they're trashing that brand. And I'm going to go on the record saying this about an integrated battery grip. 1, if you're in that class of camera, you're probably buying a battery grip. 2, it further weather seals the camera. It's not 2 pieces. You can literally rely on this camera to take whatever you throw at it. And 3, it might actually cost less than buying 2 separate pieces, because 4, they don't have to produce 2 separate pieces. You know, Canon RP comes to mind. That camera got destroyed. That camera got destroyed because it lacked features. But what people didn't realize is that camera exists to give people an affordable full frame option. Okay, I'm live streaming right now in a full frame mirrorless camera, right? The Canon RP was under $1,000. That means I can get a full frame mirrorless. I don't care if it has card slots. I don't care if it has stabilization. I don't care if it has even 4K probably, because I'm using it for this means, and I can still use the R-mount lenses. That's a great camera for me then, right? But they bashed it because, stabilization, Did I get excited over that camera? No. Did I get psyched to see full frame mirrorless turn into an affordable option? Absolutely. Absolutely. But they couldn't not bash that camera, right? They couldn't do it. There's people out there that chase specs but will never buy them. And there's people out there that don't care about specs because all they need is something that works. You know, that kid that's going to school right now that just wants to take cool shots, or that kid that just wants to take cool pictures on Instagram with their friends. Now there's an affordable option. But what did these channels do? They bashed them. They bashed it. And it hurts the sale of it. And then we don't see camera companies trying to make the most affordable versions of anything so much anymore because it got bashed. This is how sad things have gotten. I'm 100% with integrated battery grips. Yeah, pro guys like Tyler. Tyler, that's you, right? Tyler? Is that you? Tyler Hart? Look, this is a 2-part body. I never shoot this thing without the battery grip. Sure, you want the option of not having the grip sometimes. I still never take that grip off. Anyone who's serious and is at that level of the Z9, like a flagship camera, you're going that way anyway. You know? I hated using my Z6 II without the grip. Oh, yeah. I was bouncing one of my... What? Okay. Anyway, true, it's so weird, this derivative culture where there's whole industries built on just speculation and opinions. Well, that's the problem, Rising, is that too many things about sales is dictated by people that other people think they can trust. What they don't realize is they got your click, they got your like, you wrote a comment to them, you push their channel, their numbers go up, the brands placate to them more because they have a direct line into the industry. If you're not familiar with me, I have been shooting for 2 decades in this industry. I never really pushed to be an influencer. I never pushed for this. I became an educator, I guess you would say, through Adorama, and it just became a natural transition for me to build something like this. And thank you guys for joining me along with this. But I come from a place of actually using the gear, not hand it to me, I make a video and I talk about 3 things about it that are a hot button topic and then the camera goes away. No, I depend my life on my gear. My New York City apartment and studio depend on these. I have to make the decisions that I know will suit me, give me return on investment, and will actually work for me. I don't care if the eye autofocus is a millisecond slower. I don't. It's still amazing. How did the general public companies allow non-photographers to become influencers in the photo industry? Simply because they became popular. If you dictate sales, remember, a camera company at the end of the day is trying to sell something. If those people got super popular and someone who's new walks into YouTube and goes, well, this guy has 1 million subscribers, he's got to know what he's talking about, follow. He says, Nikon sucks, Sony's amazing. That guy goes, well, that must be true. And then that dictates those sales. So then what happens is all the brands go, hey, guy who's talking to people directly, let's get you the gear first so you can get a review out at launch so people are talking about our cameras. And they give them the cameras because they actually believe in them. They're not looking to get trashed. They believe in the gear. What's sad is no matter what companies do, actually, no matter what certain companies do, they'll never let them off the mat and they trash them. And it's sad. And you guys are what is the currency. Your comments, your likes, your sharing around, your views, you counteracting the conversations in those comments that you don't agree with count for everything. Because if it's only one narrative of eye autofocus is all that matters, then that's all people think the discussion is. But if you say, actually, no, I think the color that I'm getting out of this camera, the fact that I get 10-bit color on board, blah, 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 whatever it is, that starts opening up the narrative. And that's the power you have. Your dollars to vote on the cameras and the gear, your voice in the comments to let people know that they're not the only ones that matter, or that you have a different point of view. You have that power. You do. Don't ever think about, man, well, it's not going to matter. It is going to matter. If you go in those comments and read something that starts bashing for no reason, challenge it. Challenge it. You know? If you don't, the conversation only goes one way because other people are afraid to talk the other way. And it becomes the emperor has new clothes. Case in point, the Sony Alpha 1, amazing achievement of technology. Sadly, the back screen is 1.4 megapixel. That is a $6,500 camera that I cannot tell how much noise is in my image from looking at the back of the camera while I'm working with it. Amazing technology though, incredible features on there. They did an incredible level with that camera. But how come my Z6 that's $1,600 or less has almost 4 megapixels on the back for me to check what I'm doing? But no one talks about it because the emperor has new clothes. And if we like this brand, we get more views. And if we bash this brand, we get even more views. So it turns into that is the conversation and the narrative. And everyone just goes along with the flock like, yeah, I don't want to say something stupid and sound dumb. Like, yeah, that brand is awesome. That brand sucks. No. What works for you? What works for you? What features in that camera give you what you need to do? That's what you have to worry about. That's what you have to worry about. Wow, you guys are lighting up in here. I never liked how the Z series got bashed because of one card slot. Then Canon came out and it was okay. I know. Well, Canon slid under the radar. They weren't a threat to Sony. So the Sony kids didn't sharpen their fangs. They took their fedora hats off and they went after Nikon, I'm just kidding. Great points. It's funny to watch a lot of YouTubers jump back and forth. Where is the YouTube police? That's the other thing, Carl. You bring up a great point. Listen to me very carefully and think about this. There is no vetting on YouTube. I'm on here right now live saying whatever I want. And I am going to be at the mercy of whatever the comments say to me, sure. But I could literally say, up is down, and make a whole video about it and be serious, and it still gets posted. So if someone says this camera's garbage and this camera's amazing, it still gets posted. It's up to you to believe it or not. What I wish people would really do is go, let me try it for myself. Let me get it in my hands. Let me talk to people who actually have to use this stuff, not just try it for 5 minutes. Not just try it for 5 minutes. Let me tell you something. The Z series got bashed. The Nikon Z series got bashed, right? This is Gen 1 Z6 right here. I stream and record all my videos on Z6. You know what my #1 comment is? Whoa, the video looks great. What camera is that? Do you know what my #1 response is? Nikon Z6. Do you know what the #1 response to that is? What? Because all they heard was whatever they wanted them to hear. Grains of salt. Pack your ear with grains of salt, everybody. So true, a certain YouTuber. Yeah, I know. All that money for screens, that's worth my Z6 too. I'll say this. If Canon and Nikon can put out flagship full-frame mirrorless cameras at a $5,000 price point and leave Sony at a $6,500 price point, they might have a chance. Because just like Sony put out a $2,000 price point here with the a7 III and disrupted all their mid-range cameras that were around 25 to 3 grand, they could do it. They could disrupt the flagship market again. Kind of crazy if you think about it. New Nikon firmware, eye autofocus spot on. I'll be honest with you, Pony, I don't really use eye autofocus that much to tell you. I will say, when I do turn it on, I absolutely notice that it grabs things farther away in lower light, faster, sticks with it. I think Granger did a video on the new firmware. You could check that out. I don't know. I can't speak to it, honestly. But I can say it's absolutely noticeably better than it has been. Is that fair? But I haven't used it in battle. Also, I shoot a lot of special effects makeup where eyeballs don't look like eyeballs anymore, so I don't want to risk any camera trying to grab eyeballs on an alien with sunken in eyes and neon colored paint on their face. Got me a Z50. It was the best move I made, but that's me. Yo, the Z50 is great. It has one flaw. One flaw. Other than that, I really like that camera. I bought it for my father. I bought my father a camera. I don't want to turn this into the Nikon fan club thing here, though. Canon does great stuff. Sony does great stuff. Fuji does great stuff. Lumix has great stuff. Everybody has something good out there. I mean, even Pentax people love what Pentax is putting out there. Speaking of which, let me get into the next news thing. I think this is really important for you guys to know, but Cactus has left the industry 3 months ago. So if you're not familiar, this was a trigger system. They did some speed lights. They never really got off the ground. They did have actually, no, I guess they did do studio lights. See, I didn't even know they did studio lights. Oh no, this was crowdfunding. They never got the studio off the ground. So they left the industry in December. Nobody even knew this. So anybody that was in this system didn't know that they lost a company support, which sucks for those people. The reason I bring this up now is because I just mentioned Pentax. I think Cactus was the last trigger system available for Pentax. I think. I'm not sure if the Westcott system is available for Pentax, but when I mean trigger system, I mean like a trigger that could trigger anything else, not a trigger system in a closed system like Westcott, Flashpoint, Godox, and Profoto and Broncolor. I'm talking about a trigger that could just be put onto another light and trigger it, you know? Too late, now I have to sell my Sony and buy a Nikon? Is that a joke? Nikon stuff is stupid well built. Can I be honest with you? From my heart, and I mean this, and it's true. I've been shooting for 2 decades. I've shot all the brands. I've owned pretty much all the brands at some point, except for Sony. I never owned a Sony. I've just had them on loan for a few months. I have always stayed with Nikon in my bag. When it came down to the wire, I always pulled out the Nikon. When it was something high pressure, it was always the Nikon. I have trashed Nikons. I have dropped them, gotten chemicals on them, spilled fake blood all over them, glitter stuck inside of them, heat, cold, anything. I have never had one of the camera bodies I've had from Nikon physically fail on me. The only time it failed was I ripped the tether cable out really badly by stepping on it and broke my USB port in my camera and had to replace it. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. So I stuck with them. So if it never failed me, I never left them. And that's what happened. Canon is legendary. People have beaten the hell out of those cameras. I have colleagues that are still using cameras from 15 years ago. It's just how it is. Sony has only been in the market for so long, and they have had build quality issues, but with that trade-off, you get this incredible technology that they produce. They set trends for progression in technology. They really do. They show what's possible sometimes. But what I think people forget is, so let's say Sony puts out the Alpha 1, right? And that happened a month ago or so. If Canon and Nikon put out a flagship camera this year, it's not that they were behind on the technology. They were building the camera the same time Sony was building theirs. They just brought it to market a few months late. Do you have any idea how many years went into those cameras? How many years went into every brand's R&D to build something for you? They're not late to the game by a few months. And in the grand scheme of things, they've been around for 100 years. You know? That's because Sony doesn't fit in your hand. Oh my God, my knuckles die on some of those cameras. They really hurt. I think it's because I just have a long digit here and it just gets jammed in there like crazy. Could just be me. If you're selling that F6, I'm gonna go on record and say I'm never ever selling this F6, or, oh, I moved it. There's an F100 around here somewhere. If you guys watch my Twitch channel, you know, oh, look at this. You know that I have cameras everywhere. Look, another Fuji. This is the F100F. This is the F100V. Oh, they're siblings. Aw. Let me see. Nothing wrong with the 5D Mark IV. Nothing wrong with the 5D Mark IV. In fact, that camera made a mark in the game, right? The 5D series revolutionized DSLRs for video. Think about that. That's crazy. I have a Canon 650D for my first camera. Now I have a Sony a7S III and I'm happy with it. Yes, it's not perfect, but it's good for my needs. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. I crunched the mount on my D7000 before I got it used to counterintuitive on-off direction. Otherwise, it's bulletproof. Yeah, Nikon does things backwards. However, the new cameras, while the mount is still backwards, all the dials can be switched around and stuff. Like you can actually change the focus ring direction, which is what a lot of video guys kind of hate about Nikon. Don't you have an old Hasselblad large format? I have a Hasselblad. I'm looking at a Hasselblad lens, but where did I put my Hasselblad 500? My large format's actually in a case. Is it back here? I don't even know. Yeah, but you know, I have, this is a Hasselblad lens with a custom follow focus lever on it, which is a dream. This lever, I never thought I'd love a lever so much, but yeah. Ooh. Carl Zeiss, before he was a cool kid on Sony. You know, Carl Zeiss was a nerd like the rest of us. Then Zeiss went over to Sony and became a cool kid. And now he's at the other lunch table, guys. Funny. Oh, man. I have a D3S, still runs like clockwork. Yeah, look, cameras, that's what I'm trying to say, is that when people bash other brands in the comments, they haven't had a camera in their hands. Even so, the 5D series, right, doesn't do the top of the line anything anymore because the technology progressed, right? But it's still an amazing camera for what it did, because it still does what it did. D850, it's getting some age on it finally, right? We're starting to see some age happen on the D850. Still one of my favorite cameras I ever shot in my life. So it's kind of like nothing expires. What happens is the needs of you and the needs of the world you're in change. I started shooting a lot more mirrorless because my needs changed. I had to do way more video than ever before. And so when I got the Z6, I opened up a whole floodgate of abilities I didn't have before, because my D850, while it did do beautiful video, it didn't have the features I wanted when I was using a video. I wanted to have that autofocus. I wanted to have the face detection, all this stuff. I wanted to have like my own fake cameraman here that focuses on, you know, when I need it. Of course, now it's not going to focus. Look at this. Of course it's not. There it is. Oh, did I touch the screen? That's why it goes slow. Look. Yeah, see? Now it's not slow anymore. Look at that. Damn it. The whole time, every time I touch the back of the screen by accident, when I'm setting the camera, whoop, whoop. And this is Gen 1. This is Gen 1. Why doesn't Sony make their camera bodies bigger? Because Sony's ethos actually is they take pride in making smaller technology that does more. That's part of their thing. That's really something they believe in. So Lumix S1 body plus Sony autofocus equals dream camera. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of either one of those companies' color profiles. But the Lumix S1H, it's a pretty baller camera for filmmakers. You know, but that's a taste thing. It's not the bad cameras, I just don't resonate with the color. At one point, the 5D2 was a top of the line camera that put out extremely high quality photos. Nothing wrong with any of those old cameras, just better ones out there now. There'll always be better. There will always be the next. Look, we're looking at global shutters coming soon, right? There will always be the next. Curved sensors, who the hell knows? But look at what you can do with a kit lens now. A freaking kit lens is this. Well, let's just see. Let me just see. Hold on. Whoop. What is going on? Okay, so this is a kit lens, and I am in focus here, right? This is how close the minimum focusing on a kit lens that you're looking at me on is now. They're incredibly hard to flare. Chromatic aberration, not even a thing, and they're cheap. Look at where we are right now. This is nuts. This is every brand. Seems like small interchangeable old camera price is still keeping the price up. So I think there's at a point where they just can't go any lower without being junk, you know? And I'll be honest with you, Alvin, later Vega, thanks for hanging out. And I'll be honest with you, Alvin, I think there comes a point where certain lines from the camera brands have to be the ones that make money. Meaning that a flagship camera, they might put so much into it and sell it at a high thousands of dollars, but the margin is small on it. But the cameras they sell to the mass people that are, you know, point and shootish kind of with interchangeable lenses kind of, like Canon Rebels, those margins might be big because they'll sell a mass amount of them and can produce them fast. And that's how they make their money. So that's kind of a thing. If you're out shooting in bad conditions with gloves on, you'll love bigger body like the S1 or D850. The D850 is, I'll tell you, man, every time I pick up that camera, I don't have a care in the world. I pick it up and I go, I know I'm shooting today. Like, there's that camera. I did the video for the beta model. The camera I picked up was serial number 000009. It was the 9th one in existence. And it was so cool. But as soon as I did the shoot for Adorama, I put the camera down, the camera was off. I'm like, I'm buying this camera. I'm buying it right now. Like, I couldn't get over it. It was so clean. It was so clean. It's great. A medium format Z camera could bring Nikon to scene and compete with Fuji. That's what I said, Cian Inc. I talked to Nikon engineers and I was like, look, if your mount is this big, if you can make a Z mount lens work for medium format, full frame, and APS-C, you'll be making some waves out there. Canon could do it too. But I just don't think they're going to do it. I don't even think they have the resources right now because they're taking such a hit. I have no idea. All right, guys, this is running way longer than I thought it was going to run. So I'm going to go do the shout outs of the week. Okay, guys? Shout outs of the week. I'm doing 3 of them because this is the return of Rewind. And after this, we're going to go head over to my Twitch channel where you guys can come hang out. In fact, let me turn on my my Twitch chat so that you guys can just get on over there when we're ready. And before I do the shout out of the week, the Twitch channel is chill as hell. If you're not part of it, you're totally missing out. Anybody in here can tell you that. Rewind after party. After party. Photo nerds, get in here. Photo nerds, get in here. Control AC, Control AV, get done. Okay. Let me go to, and let me go to create a dashboard. Okay, the chat's open. Okay, shout out of the week. Number 1, this one goes out to somebody who is 100% always in the chat, always supportive, always shooting, which is important, always trying to get cleaner and better. This one goes out to none other than our very own Records of Light right there. Just hit him up with a follow, Records of Light Photography. I'm gonna hit Control C. My man does a ton of rock climbing photos and he's getting better and better every day. So give him a shout, go take a look at him. Control V. The Discord should be, link should be in the Discord link should be in the description. Kind of going head to head with Fuji GFX with being insane. I don't, you know, it's all rumors, man. I'm telling you. Stupid 1 dislike. Someone's always gonna hate me, and I'm at peace with that. So Records of Light, that's for you, buddy. I don't know if you're still in the chat, but thank you so much for all support. And I'm gonna go to this guy, Marcus Beasley, who actually got featured by Nikon, believe it or not. So I'm gonna give him a quick shout. This guy is constantly active and he's got a huge chip on his shoulder, but I think you guys can see that he's definitely got a passion for finding out what he wants to shoot out there. I mean, my man's got the squirrel photos for days. So there it is, look at that guy. So give him a follow. And last but not least, I'm gonna do a shout out for the next one. So if I didn't get to you, you will be getting a shout out, I promise, at some point. And Lori Sloan Photos, who's been growing exponentially. She's working so hard. She does a lot of really great observational photography out there. I strongly recommend you take a look at what she's putting out there, how she sees the world, the vibe, and stuff that she's been putting out there. That's for Lori Sloan, who used to be an Adorama Event Space alumni. So these are all shout outs of the week. I'm gonna put these in the description below. So if you're watching this on playback, check down below for their Instagrams. Go ahead and follow, say what's up to them, and you know, help them out. Not sure the Fed is down on Twitch yet. I'll have to catch up later this week. What? Lori's been absolutely superb. I tripped and fell on top of mine and survived. Good robust gear that holds up. Cool. All right, guys. So that was Rewind Live. I went way longer than I thought I was going to go. If you're watching this on playback, hit me with a comment down below. Let me know that you made it to the end. I'm just curious if anybody is going to get this far on playback. If you're checking this out now live, do me a favor, hit like. It sure helps out this channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe, plus the bell to get notified when I come live and drop new videos, which I have been lately. Check out my articulating art video, the DIY backgrounds video, the plastic bag and balloon modifier, the live shoot demos, the watt seconds explained videos on this channel. I mean, there is 10 tons of stuff on this channel that I put out. And of course, you can find me on Adorama TV, where I'm on regularly, and join me on twitch.tv/lastxwitness. I'm the last X Witness on anything. So check out my portfolio on Instagram, yell at me on Twitter, join me live on Twitch. You know what? I'm gonna give myself a shout out. How's that? You guys ready for this? I'm gonna go right to my profile and be like, this is the guy you just heard ranting about all the stuffs. This is my portfolio-ish, sort of. This is the GFX 100 hand poke tattoo while I was shooting. I do a lot of special effects makeup shoots. You might have seen my Popeye out there somewhere. Shot some ducks. Shot some redheads. So give myself a shout out, all right, guys? All right, join me over on Twitch. 2 minutes, I will be live on Twitch. Make no mistake, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know if you guys were into this. Let me know if Rewind is good in a live format. I will see you next time. Later, bye. Thank you, Mike Warren.